Hi, this is Awakening Talk with Danielle.
And Earl. Hello.
Hey. So, today we have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we're just going to get into it because
There's like a lot of stuff going
there's a
on.
lot. So, we haven't had a lot of time to. I'm sorry, I just totally interrupted him. We haven't had a lot of time to uh, video our show and kind of do things because we've been kind of in hermit mode a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
So
been a struggle.
the energy that I've been dealing with has been like I'm my anger keeps coming up, but I'm angry because um you know what? I didn't even know why I was angry. And then it's an energy of like again bringing up all the past hurts and the past BS that you always deal with, and it has to purge. So I'm in a purging mode. All this stuff is coming up for me. Like one day, I just had like one embarrassing moment after another. Just keep like popping in my head, and it was so like the embarrassment was so bad that I even like winced physically. Like I was like, oh man, so stupid. It was that bad, and mostly centered around like when I was young and around women because I was so awkward around women. It was really bad. I made so many bonehead moves. It was so stupid. But that still bothered me, and why I was still hanging on to it, I didn't know. So like every time I thought of something dumb like that, I was even at work just painting. I was just like, oh, why did I do that? It's so stupid. So finally, I broke down, and we were in the hot tub,
It's always in our hot.
and you had turned around and were talking to our daughter, who had come out on the porch to see us. And finally, I broke down. I was like, "All right, I give up." I told God, I was like, "I give up. Just help me out here," you know. And so the the visions kind of started coming in as to why I was still so like upset about this stuff because I had purged all this stuff about rejection and old crushes that I couldn't get over or whatever and were still attached. So I pulled all those cords. I thought you keep thinking you're done with this stuff, but then it shouldn't affect you when you think of all the embarrassing things, right? So I said, fine, I give up. Just help me out. So the visions kind of started, and it was because um, I was still being so hard on myself, you know, and like calling myself stupid and not loving myself at all, just like really hating myself for all the dumb stuff that I did. So, you know, that was shown to me. And the thing is, it's like I know I was doing it, but for some reason I couldn't help it. I couldn't stop. So finally, it was shown to me that um, the rejection really bothered me still, and it was shown to me that those few crushes growing up had helped um, push the emotion up past into my heart chakra because um, the world has been suppressed to only function from the lower three chakras, and I didn't know that at the time. But now it was shown to me that that love I had for these girls growing up had really pushed that emotion up so hard that it was just putting the first few cracks in that heart chakra to open up. And so it was a switch in perspective to, instead of like really hate that time and really just be frustrated with that time and like wishing things had gone different back then, I had like switched into the gratitude of the whole thing, which is how we heal childhood traumas and all that, right? First the forgiveness and then the thankfulness that it happened. It almost immediately switched into thankfulness to help put those first little fissure cracks into my heart chakra. and really feel that strong pull of emotion, which I had, especially as a young man growing up, just suppressed because guys are supposed to be tough, they can't feel emotion, all that. And even though my family didn't really push that, as a society they did. I was programmed in the societal, boys don't cry and all that stuff. So um, so it really turned into a gratitude of thankfulness that these souls came in to be that person that I would feel such a strong connection with, that I would get so tormented over, that it would push up past the lower chakras into the heart chakra. And once I realized that and was thankful for it, I felt a block way up here in my clavicle. So, in the throat chakra too, because a lot of the things I was regretting was never expressing, how I felt to these girls in the first place. But then, you know, it was like I could go back in time to myself then, and I could do it quantumly there and thank them and tell them I love them then. And it like through the quantum realm opened up my heart chakra and my throat chakra, and it all just went whoosh and whooshed out. So that's what happened to me the past couple weeks, which was
I didn't
amazing.
know any of that because he did not share with me.
So turning that like embarrassment, admonishment, just hating myself, flipping it around to another perspective of thanking those souls to come in and be with me for that was pretty incredible. So any bad thing that happens to you in your life from somebody else, they signed up to be that person for you, no matter how bad it is. And none of these people, none of these souls did anything wrong. It was a growth opportunity for me, which I hate growth opportunities sometimes because they're hard, right? But again, I didn't know that those frustrations and angers and everything I was feeling for the past couple of weeks was again tied to way back then. It was another childhood trauma.
It's really
it was
annoying.
really annoying. but but the energy this week, I listened to one of the tarot readers I listened to, Dee. She did a reading for Pisces, and it was, you're in a cocoon, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling angry, you're working through this, and it's really an opportunity for you to, finally squeeze out more of these, traumas and everything. I'm like, son of a bitch, how do they always know? And the ones you connect with, that reading's for you, right? Not all readers are reading Pisces the same way at the same time, but when you really connect with one and it's true, we talked about truth last time, that feeling you get, it just kind of like tingles down your spine like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through. So those are the energies for me this week. How are you doing?
So yeah, mine was really annoying. I don't know what day it was. I think it was Monday. Because you called me and you had something for me on Monday. So Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, what did I call you about? We should write.
He doesn't even know. Okay. We should write this down. So I was.
Oh, it was that video of the guy.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah. I'm deceased.
Yeah.
So I was. I know what the video was. I just didn't know what day it was. I mean, not that it really matters, I guess. So I was out doing DoorDash. I think it was probably Tuesday. And I was fine like most of the day. I was by myself. And then all of a sudden I just got really ticked off. I didn't know why. And then I was just frustrated, felt like nothing was happening. I'm so annoyed with all this crap that's going on or not going on. And then I started feeling like, why am I getting so angry? So I couldn't figure it out. And I was frustrated with myself. Oh, I know what it was. So I decided that because I really need to lose weight and I really want to lose weight and I want to go on this Because I don't feel like this is me. Like, I don't feel like this is my face. I don't feel like this is my body. I'm just really frustrated. And I keep gaining weight, and there's no reason why. It's like, I'm not a hog, you know? I don't eat all day. I'll eat one meal a day, and I gain like 20 pounds. And I can't figure it out. And I was so frustrated. And the thing about it is I don't hate myself. I don't have any of those feelings towards myself anymore. I used to. I actually feel better about myself now than I ever have. So it doesn't make any sense. So that's why it just doesn't match. Doesn't match what's inside, and it's really frustrating. So I was in a car, and I kind of decided, okay, well, that morning I decided, okay, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do all this stuff. Oh, yeah. You know, and then I just didn't feel like it. So then it's like, well, then, like, you know, I was walking, and I did something, and my back hurt. Like, oh my gosh. Then I get in the car, and so I thought, you know what I should do? I should stop eating meat and stop eating dairy, because there's something wrong with me. Why do I keep gaining weight? I need to figure out what it is. So maybe if I just cut everything out, I'll do that. So I kind of promised myself. So stupid. I'm so dumb. I promised myself that I wouldn't eat meat or dairy, and I was going to do it for a week. I even made a video. Like, I didn't post it. It was like the shortest lived promise I've ever had. I mean, that's like worse than I mean, I can't even think of a worse promise. It's like, oh, I'm not going to eat a candy bar, and then pick up a candy bar and eat it. So, anyhow, I went into DoorDash, and I was with Logan. So that was Tuesday or something. And yeah, I go, and then I'm like, okay, let's go get some Chinese food. And then I'm like, you know, we're out doing DoorDash. I don't want to cook. So I cheated already. And then I thought, okay, well, I won't have milk. Then later on, Earl's like, I want some ice cream. And I'm like, yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh, we had pizza that night.
Oh, that's right. We had pizza. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I mean, pizza. And I was like, oh, well. And this is how stupid it is.
Logan and I were out chopping the garden out for the Zen garden. And we were tired, and I didn't want to cook. So I said, hey, grab a pizza. So then we had pizza that night. Yeah. And so the next day you were out.
Yeah. So anyhow, I was so frustrated because I already broke my promise to myself, which is like the worst thing you can do. And then I get back, and I blow up. Like, just blow up. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm so mad at myself. So then did we get in the hot tub?
No, you were in a lot of pain, though. You had, like, your left side.
So wait for this one.
That night, your whole
After
left side.
I broke my promise to myself, my whole left side goes completely numb, like I'm having a stroke or something. And I start feeling like tingles in my hands from the top part of my arm all the way down to my toes. I start having these issues, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I threw my back out. And that's, okay, so I tell him, I was like, oh my gosh, I think something's going on. And he's like, well, I think it's spiritual. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's my whole left side. I'm not having a heart attack. And at first I thought, you know, maybe I'm having a stroke. And then I thought, I'm too young to have a stroke. And it's like,
it's not funny, but it is.
It is. It's funny because I'm so dumb. So if you remember me talking about these contracts that you make with yourself, and you should make contracts, I made another one. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. And I made one with God too. I had to tell him I'm breaking all my contracts. It is like so stupid, the things that I do. And I was so aggravated with myself. So the whole next day, I'm just like in pain all day. I couldn't even hardly move. And I go to do DoorDash because I want to make some money. And we're doing this garden, and I want to have this beautiful garden. And I have this stupid pain on the left side of my body, and I can't figure out what it is. And I ask God, I'm like, oh, would you just help me, please? I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't.
Did I call you after you asked for help?
Oh, I ask for help like literally every day because I struggle.
So I was watching a video, and I knew that, well, it was great for me, but I knew that it was for you too, you know.
So yeah, so he watches this video, And he sends it to me. He sends me a link, and I look down, and I see it on my phone. And I was going to push it, and then like a second later, he calls. He's like, I sent you a link. I'm like, yeah, I just saw it. And I said, well, what is it? Then he starts to tell me. He said, you know that guy that the video you sent me last week, you know? And the guy helped him. And I said, yeah, it's funny because I seen this guy before. I've listened to a few of his things.
Wow, how do you say his name?
Kyle Cease.
Cease?
Cease. So once you start in this awakening process, this whole, I hate saying journey because it's like a pet peeve.
It's a journey.
I can't stand when people say journey. I don't know what it is. I can't stand it. It's a block apparently. I'm gonna need to get over it. But anyway, God says, say journey.
It's the journey. Once you start upon this journey.
The journey. So anyway, my journey. Once you start upon this, oh my gosh, once you start this journey, you.
There's no telling where you'll get swept off to.
Yes, according to your brain also. ADD here.
Sorry.
So anyhow, once you start to see that there's these there's people that you'll look at, like like if you're watching this video, you followed us for a minute. And you'll see what level we're on. And you might say, oh, okay, well, I'm on that level. And then once you get to the point where you can no longer learn something from that person, or maybe not no longer learn, but you're not learning at the same pace as you were learning. You kind of feel like you passed it up. Then you move on.
I feel like kind of bored sometimes. Like when I watch people that I've been watching forever and I love them to death, and then it's like, you're waiting for something and waiting for something, and you just get kind of bored.
Yeah, you hold on, and then you fast forward a little bit and see where they are and the thing, and then you like fast forward again, and basically it's like watching a soap opera. You watch 5 minutes just to get all the way to the end, and it's an hour-long show. And you do it because you've been watching it your entire life, and you don't want to stop. And then, or however long you've been doing it, and then you like feel like you have something invested, like, oh, these are my friends. And the thing about it is there's nothing to feel sad about because we all have each other for a season. There's seasons when you go through things, and there's going to be a season when you watch these videos and say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. And then you'll have a sign, and then you'll watch something else. And then you might even think, oh, you know what? I wonder what Danielle and Earl are doing. And then you'll go back, and you'll start again, and it'll line up again. And then it won't. Then maybe a month later, it won't. And then you'll stop watching again. And that's happened to me several times. I know it's happened to you, but I used to listen to this lady all the time. And I'll be honest with you, I've been getting really bored. And she's wonderful. She's amazing. But I feel like there's a reason why I'm getting bored.
Yeah.
And I don't have to feel bad about it. It's time for me to move on. I'm holding on too tight.
God pushing you into something new.
I really do feel like that. Now I'm becoming stuck because now I've gotten comfortable. Mm-hmm. And when I listen to this Kyle guy, I get uncomfortable again. Like it's like crap. Like
it's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then I'll listen to him for a while because I listened to him before for a little bit, and I was telling him, I said, I kind of feel like I'm past him on my journey, but there's still some good things in there that I can see. Like, it's funny because he'll say things that I'm doing already. I'm doing the same exact thing he's doing. Or there's things that he's said that I've already done that, and I already know about that. Move on, and let's go to the next thing. And then, but there's still that sometimes when there's something in there that makes a lot of sense. And that's where I am now with this guy. I have a couple other people that Earl and I both listen to, and I'm just kind of over it. I love them. I think they're amazing and funny people. But now I'm starting to get bored and annoyed. And it's not their fault. It's me, because they're having like a whole new class. It's like when you're in school and you go to a new teacher And you've already learned social studies. You already learned about the maps, and you've already learned about all the flags of the nations. And then you go in again and list the flags of the nations. Well, why the heck would you do that twice? Nobody wants to do that twice. And then, you think, oh, okay, how can I do it again? Because I like these guys so much. And then you do it again. It's like when you watch Friends or Seinfeld. I mean, Seinfeld's hilarious, and you can watch it over and over and over again, but then you start to get bored, And then you might go back to it 5 years later because, there's nothing else to do, and you want to watch the episodes again. And you do, and then you get something new out of it because you haven't seen it in a while. And actually, I have a good example for that one. But, it's different, and it's time to move on. So that's kind of what I'm feeling now. And anyhow, my problem is I keep making all these contracts with myself again, and I'm making contracts all the time. And it was shown to me, because I feel like such a doofus, that I totally ruined my life. It's really dramatic.
That's awesome.
Yes. And I totally did it myself. I was sitting down here. Okay, I'm a writer, and I love to write. It's like my favorite thing ever. And I stopped writing, and I got like completely annoyed with myself. I was so frustrated because in the old energy, okay, I'm in a new energy now. And if you don't understand what that means, just keep watching because you're going to understand it. But I'm in the new energy now. Whereas I was in this old energy of constantly working like a dog. And the way I had to do things was very methodical. And I had to do them in a certain way. And I put pressure on myself because that's how it worked for me. And it worked because what I would do is I would set this date, this deadline. And I would panic. And then no matter what, I would always make the deadline. Because I would push and push and push and push and push. And I would stay up late. And I would drink coffee. And I'd eat snacks. And I'd have Twizzlers coming out my face. And I would have candy. He knows I had so much candy in my desk drawers. And I'm like, rotting my teeth. Because I need to finish this book. And I was so driven. And so, it was amazing. I loved it. But you know what? My body didn't love it. And God didn't love that for me. And apparently my higher self didn't love it for me either. But then once I started ascending, once I started going through this ascension process, in about 2012, start a little bit, 2016, I just got smacked into it. I got smacked. My shit just got smacked. And since 2016, I've been going through this. And so, man, that's a long freaking time, dude. So anyway, I stopped writing basically in 2016. Now, I wrote a few things in those years, but it sucked. And it was so difficult. And I saw the other day after he called me and told me to listen to this guy. And I knew he was right because I listened to this guy before and he's spot on. And I knew Earl's got it. He started telling me some stuff. And if
I really only talked to you about 5 minutes, and then
that's all I need. I don't need.
You had those breakthrow epiphanies that we talk about.
So I felt like such an idiot because, like, soon as he said, "I got a scratch on my arm." Anyway, I saw it and probably thinking I'm like gnawing off my arm or something. Anyway, you didn't think that. Nobody does.
No.
I don't know. Anyway, something I thought of. Anyway, he was talking to me, and I just sort of had this moment where it's like, oh my God, I made another freaking contract. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I was so annoyed with myself. It wasn't like, he just said, be easy. I just thought, it's hard because I thought God was like taking away my writing and taking away my whole, like, basically my whole identity. I felt like it was my identity, which it totally wasn't. It was really dramatic, but and in a way, he did take away the writing because how it was and shown to me was writing is this like magical thing. Like it's this amazing thing. Like basically, I can't say that. All right. Okay, so like you're a creator, right? So you're like God in your own universe with, writing. So the author creates the whole world. So I was creating all these worlds and it was so amazing. I felt like, man, I've got the power, you know, and I'm making these amazing worlds, and I have all the imagination you could possibly imagine. I mean, it's great. And I have all these characters, and Earl will tell you I have these amazing storylines. I mean, they are fantastic. And then when I go to write, I just sit there. I think of stories all the time. I was just sitting here at the computer earlier, just staring at it. I have the story in my head, but I can't do anything about it because I don't know how to do it.
In this energy.
Yeah, and the thing about it's so frustrating, as he showed me, that it's supposed to be enjoyable. It's not supposed to be stressful. I am at a higher vibration. I am not a worker bee anymore, you know? And he's like, you are this. Here you go. You have your crown, and you go over here, and then this person here who's still in this energy, this energy of working all the time and slaving and doing all this because they choose to be in that slave mentality. And since I started working on myself and on my blocks, I came out of that, right? Almost immediately, because that's when the books stopped.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I decided in this brain or whatever that I decided to work on myself and to better the situation, I already moved out of the lower vibrational slaveries. And it's been a climb. So Earl said something, it was so interesting the other day. He said, you know, that guy said that it was that we're already in the new energy and that we just haven't, you know, we just don't know it yet. And it was so funny because I said something to him. I said, you know what? I feel like I'm in it, but I haven't caught up yet. And he's like, oh my God, Danielle, that's what that guy said. And it was so funny. He says, you said every single thing that guy said.
Yeah.
I was like,
so
I have these thoughts and I have the knowing just like this guy.
Yeah.
But I'm not making a video on him. Apparently I am now, but I just couldn't piece it together. It was weird.
Right. And so one of the concepts, which is kind of what we're talking about, is that your reality that and everything around you and how you work is like one story of a building, but you don't know the rest of the building exists. You just have that one floor, right? And once you're aware that there's more than just one floor and that there's a whole building, your consciousness expands to the point of, oh my gosh, there's so much more than just this one floor. So you're spending your whole life working like crazy, setting deadlines, putting pressure on yourself so you can conquer this first floor of a building because you don't know anything else, right? So that's the program that we're in. We're programmed to conquer the world of the first floor of this building. And that means work your ass off, sock away money so that you can retire someday, and in between there, you raise a family so you can contribute to the next generation, and then that's it. You've conquered the first floor. You've grown up. You've contributed to society. You've worked hard enough to get a little bit of money and have a family, and then that's it. You've conquered it, right? Well, then you discover that you're not just the first floor. You're the entire building. And then just that realization moves you out of that first floor and into the second floor. And then once you start removing blocks and you become lighter, you move up in this progression, right? And so the example he gave was, now you're on the third floor. You're looking to move from the third floor to the fourth floor, but you're still doing first floor shit.
Yeah.
So you're still working like crazy, doing all this effort, putting all this pressure on yourself when that's not how the third floor works. So you need to sit in the energy and kind of discover how the third floor works. Yeah. And this is the point where we are right now.
So,
we're discovering how to manifest and bring things about in a much less effort-driven, crazy way.
So I've been on
more magical, creative way.
Yeah, I've been on the fifth floor and not on the third floor, 3D, 5D. I've been on the friggin' fifth floor for about 6 friggin' years. Maybe not, maybe a year or two. But still, I've been on the higher floor and just sitting there and still wishing to be on the other floor because it was easier.
Because you knew
But
how. You knew how to.
But yeah, I was getting there. But it wasn't
Sorry.
easier. It's because I had to work so hard, but I knew how to do that because I had worked hard all my life to get to where I was. And I knew how to get there and I knew how to do it. So it's like when you get a new job and you don't know how to do the job yet. And you're excited at the prospect of the job. And somebody comes in and shows you how to do the job. And you learn how to do it. And you're slow at first, but then eventually you figure it out. You figure out all the ways to do it without having to work so hard. And everybody does it, you know. You figure out the easier ways to do things, you know, to make it easier on you.
Become more proficient.
Sure. So then, you know, you do those things. And then you got the job and you're great at it. Until you get bored with the job and realize there's a better job, another floor. And then you want to get that job. Then you got to go up to the other floor, get the job, figure it out a little while, and then get used to that job until there's a better job. You're just moving up the cycle. So I am so embarrassed because I've been sitting there thinking that, well, I can't write. No, I can because there are days when I feel like I do get in that energy. Like my brain's in the energy, but my body isn't, you know? My brain is there. Like I think of all these things. I'm very creative, but the part that has to implement the energy hasn't figured it out yet. And it's so frustrating because I know it's there. And I know it can be done. And I know I'm going to do it. And I see it. And it was so frustrating because I told him for years, I was like, I know that this book is amazing. And I know it's like the best book ever. And I know I'm going to make a ton of money from it. And it's not about making the money, though. And it really isn't about making money for me. It's about getting it done. And putting it out there. And it'll help people. And people will understand. And it's so frustrating because it's not getting done. It's like, ugh. And then it's like, you know, on one hand, I think, well, maybe I haven't learned what I need to learn for it to get done yet. Yeah. And then I think, well, when's that going to happen? But then it's all about timing. So God shows me this clock, right? And basically, the time is nothing like it was. So that tells me one thing, that I will not work that same way. I will not get things done the same way. I will not be in a schedule the same way, which is rough for me because I love schedules and I love calendars and I love step-by-step things. But do I? Is that just what I had to do in order to get through those things? Because we were always so busy because there's only so many hours of the day. Now, if you didn't have to worry about time and you didn't have to worry about getting things done, why would you ever make a schedule? You would just do it whenever you felt like it, and that wouldn't matter. You just get it done, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw something today, and it was about, I don't remember who put it on there. I saw a few different things about past, present, and future. Somebody said, oh, you know, their favorite quote was about how when you live in the past, I forget what the heck it is, but in the future and the present is a gift. It's a gift because it's a present or some crap. Okay, I know. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've heard it before. Everybody has. And so they're talking about living in that moment. They're saying if you're always living in the future, you're always going to have anxiety. You know? Because you don't know what's going to happen. You know? If you're always living in the past, you're always going to have fear because you know what happened and you can't get over it. So if you just live in the present and just be free, it's fun because you can relax and you know what's happening because shit, you're doing it, right? And it made a lot of sense to me. And it's like, I never feel like I ever live in the present. So if every day I just wake up and decide what I'm going to do that day as I'm doing it, I know it's not very practical, but I feel like that's what we have to do now. Like, that's the energy I'm in. So if I get up and I don't feel like writing a freaking book, I'm not going to write a book. But if I feel like going to do DoorDash, I'll do it. If I feel like eating ice cream, I'm going to do it. If I feel like having a beer at 4 in the morning, I'm going to do it. Because that's what I feel like doing. And I kind of feel like, as stupid as this is the kind of understanding I had today by reading this little thing on this video or seeing it comment on a video, is because, you know, that's how you get out of that cycle of time.
So the other point that Kyle Cease was making in the one video was putting your vibration first rather than worrying about the schedules and stuff like that. So if you wake up and you think, gosh, I really need to go see this person and do this and send this email. But if you think, all right, what do I want to do for my vibration to raise my vibration? And it might be, um, putting on some music for 20 minutes in the morning and dancing around or something. That will, if you feel like doing that, then you need to take the time for yourself and do that before you give away all that stuff to all these people, right?
It's good.
Is waking up and flipping on the news first thing, is that going to be the best thing for your vibration?
Probably not.
Absolutely not. So maybe you decide not to do that. Is going to have a big donut in the morning going to be the best thing for your vibration?
Could be.
In some cases,
I mean, if it makes you feel happy to eat a friggin' donut, eat a damn donut. I mean, shit, stuff is getting horrible.
It is.
I'm eating a friggin' donut if I want to wonder, right?
Well, the point is, though, you need to have the discernment to know whether it's like a crutch, if it's something that you're replacing your childhood traumas with food. There's all of those things. But yeah, last week I did buy some donuts because there's the best donut place.
Oh, now we find out, folks.
By my work that I only pass irregularly. It's back open. I know. That's why I was so excited.
Oh, I bet you were happy.
Yeah, so I was happy, and I had a couple donuts, but you know what? I felt like crap after I ate those donuts.
That sucks.
So I was happy for a moment, but then, you have to dig in. Why were you happy? Were you happy because... Well, I was happy because it's...
You always ate the donut, and you know how good the donut tastes.
Yeah.
Or do you think did you feel like you had to have the donut since it was open? Because I think that's different.
I wish I could have it.
You don't know. I feel like that's different. Like if you almost feel forced to do it because it's there and it's open and it hasn't been. And what if this is the last time you could eat that donut?
That was that.
I see. I'm telling you, yeah.
Man, if this place closes, I'll never have one of these donuts again. They're amazing.
And I mean, you were fine before whenever I did it.
And you know what? I was happy that I did it, even though my body felt horrible afterwards. For some reason. But so another example though would be like if someone's pressuring you to do something and you don't want to do it. And your soul doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But you relent to it and you do it anyway. That kind of lowers your vibration, right? So,
You want to drink? Or not?
Yeah. So if you, I don't want anything. No thanks. I have water. If you wake up and you put your vibration first, this is how we get used to the new energy of where we are, right? And I think even though I haven't discovered how to be in this new energy yet, I'm working on it, But I think he had a good point. Is that I don't really think about that stuff. I still think about, um, working hard, work, and hustle mode, hustle mode, hustle mode, and that's not the new world we're creating with
Well,
each
that's
other.
why you're so miserable.
And I'm miserable now because I still have to do things that I don't want to do, like going to work every day and hustling my butt off. And my soul is like done with that. My soul does not want to do that anymore, but I still feel like I have to pay bills. So,
Which brings us to why more and more people are quitting their jobs all the time now.
yeah, so we talked many times, like the new generation, they don't know how to work. They don't know how to put in the effort. They don't want to put in the time to learn all the skills. They just want to have everything handed to them. Yeah, because it's not the energy this earth is going.
And they're not in that energy. That's the thing.
Yeah, they're not in it.
They're
already on the 5th floor.
I kind of feel like they haven't had enough life experience in the old energy to even feel that. So that's why it seems so foreign how we are. Oh my gosh, just had an epiphany.
Well, there we go. These kids, these generations that drive all the old people crazy because they don't know how to work and all this stuff, they're not in the old energy of hustling your ass off and being a slave until you can get a pittance together to last the rest of your life when you're in your 70s. I mean, the whole system is ridiculous. So we're searching for how to come into this new world economy.
Hello.
Not the new world order of the dark order, but the new earth, the new heaven on earth vibration that's coming. And these kids are already in it. They're already on the 5th floor, and they don't want anything to do with the 1st floor hustle. They don't want anything to do with it.
You know what's funny is like our kids are so they're so different than we are. Well, than we were. Not that we are now, but than we were. But their attitudes towards work is completely different than ours. And my parents' attitude towards work is completely different than ours. Your parents are on a whole other level than my mom and dad, and they're only 10 years apart. Mm-hmm. So what's funny is like, and then you have my grandma, who's 10 years older than, maybe 11 or 12. How old your dad? Is he 70 or 80?
Late 70s.
Oh, okay. So my grandma's about 12 years older than his dad. So it's like we can see the generation, I would say a generational gap between like of ascending, because you could tell where like my grandma, she was obviously around during World War II. My grandfather fought in World War II, and they were the Big Depression, right? So they were around during that time. Then Earl's dad was born around 46.
42.
Oh, where am I getting these numbers today? 42. Man alive. And then my dad was born in 55. We were born in 78 and 79. So you can see the stair steps coming down. And then our kids were born in the 2000s. Our daughter was born in 2002, and our son was born in 2007. And they're so different. I mean, I think it would have been really funny to see like my grandpa with Logan. Mm-hmm. So Logan is so my grandfather was a prisoner of war, and during World War II, and so wasn't a big fan of Japanese people because of that whole thing, obviously. And our son loves Japanese people. He's obsessed with the Japanese culture. It's like his favorite thing ever. Mm-hmm. And it would have been like the funniest thing ever to me if they would have known each other. But just Logan is just so free with himself and everything. And it's just a whole other explanation there. And my grandfather was about, he was a soldier, like from the time he was 17, he enrolled or enlisted, and then, he was ready to fight for his country. He actually did it early. They fudged his records, and he got in, and here's Logan. He's just like, I want to be a stay-at-home dad and drive a RV and sell ice cream. It's like,
I know.
What?
And you know what?
And he's like, I'm going to do DoorDash. And I'm like,
that life sounds amazing for him.
Well, it really does. He does seem like that kind of person. I don't know. It's weird. And so then, like Ariana, she graduated from high school. I said, what do you want to do? She said, I don't know. I'm going to think about it. And we didn't really realize what that meant. She really doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah,
but
she doesn't.
No, she doesn't ever. I mean, she has been kind of rolling around the idea about working at a bakery. She's talked to me about it today.
Okay.
And about stuff, but she wants this mansion, and that's the only reason why she wants to have a job, because she's saving for a mansion. And it can't be a little house because she's not interested. It's got to be this gigantic house, rainforest theme. I mean, it's like a whole thing. So
we pretty much, I think, I was watching something, and it kind of hit me that this is probably our daughter. She's some kind of reincarnation of some princess or some kind of royalty that just expects these things.
Yeah, because she came in, and it's like, she looks at our stuff. It's like, and she's the most sweetest person ever.
Very loving, very sweet,
very appreciative, very grateful,
very high vibrational. She's dancing around the house.
Always dances in the store, dances in the house, dances in the
car. She doesn't care who's around.
She's not care.
Talking, dancing.
She does the hand things. She's doing mudras, if you know what that is. If you don't, look it up.
She doesn't know she's doing them, but she does them.
I think sometimes she might.
Yeah?
I don't know. Like, she was talking to herself today at the store. I mean, full-on conversation. I said, who are you talking to? She's like... And I was like, well, what were you saying? And she goes... I was like, come on, you can't tell me.
Her eyes.
She's like, no. I was like, why not? I don't want to. It's like...
Yeah,
well, Ariana... Look like you're having a good time.
Ariana rarely does something that she doesn't want to do. She only does things that she wants to do.
She only does what she wants. She never compromises her integrity.
Yeah.
She's always on time. She always does what she says she's going to do when she says she's going to do. I mean, she is like amazing. She is what everybody should be.
She's been a good example for us once we got her head out of the freaking first floor soup.
Yeah, she's way ahead of us on floors.
Yeah.
Both of our kids are.
Yeah.
They're both so free and just so like loving and nice. Oh, that's the other thing that brings me to it. So that's my problem. So I told Earl, and I actually had this conversation with Logan. So Logan asked me what was wrong with me, because the other day I picked him up from school, and I'm always happy, And he said, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, I'm just going through something." He goes, "Well, what are you going through? Let me help you." And I said, "Oh, I got a stupid block, and I'm trying to work through it." He said, "Oh, yeah, which one is it?" I said, "Oh, it's my stupid heart chakra." He's like, "Oh." He's like, "How's it blocked?" I said, "Well," "I'm supposed to love people, and I don't love anybody." He goes, "Oh, man." He goes, "We have to love people?" He's like, "What if I just don't like one person? Can I just not love one person?" I was like, "No, you gotta love everybody." He goes, "Okay, I'll do it." And I was like, so then he says, "Man, it's tough, Mom." I said, "I know." He said, "My problem is," I said, "Well, I know what it was." I said, "Here's my problem, Logan." I said, "I love to help people, and I will help everybody. Anybody, doesn't matter how mean they are, how horrible they are, I will help them, because I like to do that. But then, after I help them, I want them to stay the hell away from me."
Yeah.
And Logan goes, "Oh." He goes, "Well, I'm the opposite of you." I said, "Why? How so?" And he goes, "Because I want people around me." And I said, "Okay, so here's the funny thing about that. I have a problem because I don't want anybody near me. And you have a problem because you need to have people near you to be who you are. So he feels the need. He is very needy about having people like, loving him, and he wants them to love him. It's not like you don't want people to love you, okay? But in order to love himself, he has to have people love him, or he can't love himself. That's how he validates himself.
Looking for the external validation.
Yeah. Nobody. I can't love me because nobody else does, or nobody will love me because I don't love me, or it's insane. So anyway, and we've all done it.
Yeah.
And then there's me, who, yeah, I just don't want it. So I love me now, but I don't love anyone else. I kind of went overboard. So anyway, yeah, I don't need anyone to love me. I don't care if anybody loves me. I just want them all to stay away from me. Not him, or
other
kids.
People,
the kids or something. The kids, I love them. But I guess what it is I had a hard time because every friend I ever had, I put so much into it, like crazy into it, and it just ended up pushing people away, or they always wanted something from me, and then once they got it, they left, and I still held on to it, and now I'm being told that I have to trust people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Obviously, that's a work in progress.
Here we go. This is my reminder cup. Good morning, Danielle. I'll be handling all your problems today. God. He's going to have to handle that one because I don't want to do it.
What's fun is that... So another thing this video was talking about was when you tell God that you're going to handle it, that your ego is going to handle it,
yeah.
He lets you handle it. And
until
how does that turn out?
Yeah, and then you can't.
Yeah,
you can't handle it. Then you ask him for help, and then he helps you.
Yeah, but if you just ask him for help to and for me, he doesn't just miraculously snap his fingers and a pile of gold ends up in the driveway. No, he does. There's the downloads, the epiphanies, the things like that, and it's just another stepping stone through the journey, And sometimes it's frustrating, but then, at every breakthrough, it's like you get to this point of ecstasy and your vibration goes up and you're feeling great, and then as your soul fills into this next level of the building that you're on, then you get to the boredness and the tightness and the stuff, and then I'm still going through that telling God that my ego can handle it,
Not me.
and I'm getting faster at realizing when I'm doing that, but I'm still doing that until I'm finally just oh, please help out, give me the answer, please,
See,
goodness.
So every day I go through some prayer, some kind of prayer every day, and I go to him and I ask for help, or I'm, say hi or something, and during all this, I was just I have no idea. You're gonna have to show me because I am so dumb right now. I'm so then he calls me and he's telling me, and I'm so when you start going through this stuff, the further you go, the less annoyed you get when somebody tells you something that you couldn't get on your own, because you're just so grateful that somebody's throwing it out there.
Yeah.
When I need a billboard sometimes to just hit me in the head. And it's funny because I'm not, I don't know. It's when people start talking about your ego and stuff, it doesn't bother me when people point things out. It doesn't bother me. The one thing that gets me still a little bit is when I know something is right and somebody argues and just will not stop. And it's like, and then I have to sit there and listen to it. I'm like, I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. And I've had to sit down, like, God's had me, sit through it and wait, because it's not about me having to listen to it. It's now about, like, another lesson, like in patience, and dealing with somebody else through their stuff, even though you already know what they're talking about, already know what's going on, you've already seen the block, you've already pointed it out 15,000 times, they still haven't seen it. And this is very important for what we're going through now, because there are so many people out there that have absolutely no idea that we're even going through anything.
Yeah.
And when they do finally figure it out, you can't just go, I told you so, which is really hard because I've done it, because it's really difficult to not do that. But it's one thing to joke. It's a whole other thing to just be downright mean. You cannot be mean to those people. Yell at them.
Well, the biggest problem is we have a huge disconnect between agreement on how the universe even works.
It's huge. It's very difficult.
There's a system in debate where you at least have to agree on a core issue before you can debate two sides of it, right? So you can't. Let's think of an example.
I got one. So you can agree that if you're a science person or you're a religious person, you can agree that when science has a stopping point, okay? And there's always a stopping point with science, because something had to happen in order for science to even work, right? So if you say there's no God, how are you going to prove that there's no God? You can't. You can't prove that there's no God.
So when two people are debating, if two people were debating on a spiritual issue, and you have one that says there's no God and one that says there is, you can't really have a true debate, because you don't agree on the core issue that God exists, right? If you both agree that God exists, then you can take an argumentative stance either side of a certain issue.
Right.
But if you don't agree that God exists, all you're going to do is break that issue down into whether God exists or not, and then you're wasting your time. So a lot of times we're trying to explain that there's blocks, the spiritual stuff is going on, but you're talking with people that don't even agree that this system even exists. And so all it comes down to, no matter what your points are on this higher, smaller issue, whatever your points are, whatever you're telling them, it always boils back down to the basic argument of whether this is real or not.
Right.
And that is why it's so frustrating, because until people can break through that first floor thinking and know that there's a whole building, you're not going to be able to debate anything about the second floor, the third floor, or beyond, because they're still stuck thinking that there's only the first floor. And that's the big issue. That I don't know. Well, that's part of the reason that a lot of the teachers that we run into that are on YouTube and everything, they're focusing on the first floor people to get them out of the first floor and realize there's a whole building.
And we're past the floors now, so now we need to go to the people that are on like the 15th floor to learn from those people, to see another like perspective. And Earl was saying before was like, if anything, you could just say, what if? That's it. And that's the best thing that you can do, is if you can get somebody to be like, okay, what if this exists?
Yes, if you can get somebody to at least take a stance and, okay, what if God does exist? Then you can have a debate on an issue about a smaller point.
Right.
But unless they can stand in that energy of what if God exists, let's just pretend it's real, then you can have a debate.
Right.
But when you're talking to somebody about energies and spiritual things, and they can't even say, well, what if you're saying is true? Let me sit in that perspective. Then you can talk to them about other things.
What I like to do, what I've always liked to do, is I like to have the discussion, or you could say debate.
Yeah,
debate. I like it because I like talking to people that do not share my point of view, because that gives me a chance to understand what the heck they're thinking. And then also, sometimes I flipped, because I can understand it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right, And I see that. And then maybe I look something up and then look it up. So there's other people like me, like you, that do that.
Absolutely.
And there's, I don't run into them often, but there are people that do that. And the problem is that once you do start to wake up, you're in a minority of people, okay? And if you can't handle it, you go backwards.
Yeah.
And that keeps happening, and that happens a lot when you first wake up, because you don't want to be weird, you don't want to be different, you don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, you don't want to be against the science. And you hear all these things, and people say that to you, and they'll say, "You're a weirdo," or "You're strange."
You are attacked.
Yeah.
From the people
Big time
are still on the first floor building, and you see into the second floor, and realize that there's a whole building. They are going to drag you back down because their ego gets triggered because you're seeing more. Right?
And you have to stay up there, and you have to throw the rope down to pull them up. Yeah. Instead of going down, tumbling down the steps and taking their hand and going back. You don't want to go backwards. You want to keep going. Yeah. And then every time you go up, you pull them a little bit further, because you're constantly talking about it. And then they see that you're different, and they see that you're different. And man, it makes them uncomfortable, and it pisses them off. And then every once in a while, they'll try to get onto the floor with you. Like, you could tell that they're almost trying a little bit, because I've had this experience in my life. They're trying. I mean, albeit it's not that hard of a try, but they are trying. And then they might try to understand for a few minutes, but they can't understand for half hour. You might get 2 minutes out of them, but you're definitely not going to get 3. And then they're done. And then the next time you get 4 minutes out of them, and then they're done. And then the next time you get 5 minutes out of them, and then you're done. And then it becomes an hour. Mm-hmm. And it comes 2 hours. Then you might actually be able to have half a night with them, where you can have a somewhat intelligent conversation that doesn't involve television and sports or the news, and then you could talk about something else like space, or you could talk about God, or you could talk about the news, but you don't have to talk about mainstream news, or you don't have to talk about, I just saw this on TV, so it's true, or I just read about it on Google because it's true. You could say, oh, hey, I heard about this weird thing today, that snake venom's in the water, and maybe you should look it up. And then they'll be like, what? And then they'll be like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. But then you planted a seed. And so somebody else, like 3 days later, is going to say, hey, I heard there's snake venom in the water. And they'll be like, you know what? Danielle was saying something about that. And then maybe they might, look it up. And then they might not. And then they might say, you know what? Bob was saying something about snake venom. And you say, yeah, I talked to you about snake venom last week.
This is collectively how we discern the truth. We have different points of view and different discussions and different debates. And we're all coming at this from all these different perspectives. But collectively, we're on the journey together, and we're laying the path as we go. And this is how the light workers that have woken up we are planting seeds. We're like soul gardeners almost, planting these little thought seeds everywhere. And, we don't have to beat people into the ground with all the research papers and all the stuff that we know, because they can only handle so much anyway. But if we're planting seeds, if we plant the seeds in the garden, who makes them grow? I just got this. We don't. We don't go out there and make them grow. The Creator does, right? He does the growing. But he needs us to plant some seeds.
Starts So I was really good. He never leaves me. So anyway, that's really good. That's way better than what I was gonna say. But so the funny thing is we were talking about the other day. We're talking about how, like, you know, we kept saying, "Oh, nothing ever happens, so that ever happens," and we've said this before like a million times, and we keep going back and forth because this is part of our little loop. And until we get off our stupid loop, and then we say, "Oh, you really gotta get off that loop," and then we get off the loop for a little bit. But anyhow, something that we were talking about was how so I had these tarot cards that I was doing this tarot, and I did this thing, and it was like, everybody will know that Trump is the president by April 12th. Well, April 12th came, and there was like no kind of announcement. So every time that we rise in vibration, we are in a different perspective. And every single time we do that, we move up. So we move up maybe a different timeline, a different time, a different part of the season that we're in, of suffrage or whatever. And I was thinking about this because the funny thing about it is that so a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I had this dream, and it was about a flood and these waves. And I was listening to this. I have very prophetic dreams. I remember my dreams. They're very, very vivid. Okay. And so anyhow, part of this dream was about these waves. And then it was like a couple days later, I was listening to something on YouTube. And this guy named Marcus Rogers, he was talking about how he had a dream, and there was people on waves, and how there was one guy on a wave, and the people on the waves looked like they were having a good time. The people on the ground didn't look like they were having a good time, and he saw people from church, and some of the people from church weren't riding the wave, and they were just standing there staring at it, but the people on the waves were like happy, and just the happiest people ever. And they were trying to, and the wave would come in, and more people would get on the wave, and it'd come in, and then there was less people on the ground, and the wave had pulled more people. So it was like, once they realized that, you know, that was God was on the wave, and that they could let go and let God take them, and they would be on this wave, and that they were going to be fine, and they trusted in God, and they had faith in God, and they weren't trusting in a church. They weren't having faith in a church. They weren't having a faith in a concept. They were having faith in God. They weren't having faith in religion because it's a construct. They were having faith in God. Okay? So once they let go of all their stupid, small-minded beliefs, no offense, then God pulled them up, and they were happy. And they just had God. You don't have to have, and this isn't offensive, believe it or not, meant for church, because I've been to church, you know. It's the mindset of, I have to go here to have God. No, you don't. I have to confess to a priest to have God. No, you don't. I have to do this to have God. No, you don't. You have God. You just have to look within, talk to him, her, the energy, and be at peace. Have faith. When you're turning away from God, that's Antichrist. It's the Antichrist consciousness. You are against it. You are against this feeling, this loving energy. You're against the light, and you're in darkness because you have no light. Okay? And so that was part of his dream. So I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. So I started having this other dream. So over the last few years, I've had these knowings, and then I've had him talk to me and tell me, go get food. Go get extra food. Go get extra food each week. I was like, okay. And I told people that I knew, hey, God told me to go get extra food each week. I said, I don't know why, if it's going to get really bad, if we're going to be completely shut down. I don't know what it is. He never told me, but he told me to get extra food, and I'm going to go get extra food. And it wasn't like a hurry. It wasn't like, oh, get it now, get a whole bunch of food right now. And we are kind of stupid sometimes, and we do go out and get a whole bunch then. But he did tell me just get a little bit extra each week, So sometimes I would get maybe $50 worth of food extra. Sometimes I get $5. Sometimes I would get a couple boxes of cereal, and that's it. Maybe even one. And a little extra, whatever I could afford. And then I started, once I got a ton of food that I tried to get out expiration dates a few years out. So a lot of my food was from 2024. And I got this food in like 2020, 2021. And I'm still doing it. And anyway, he told me to get this little bit of food. So, and I also got toilet paper. And because this was after the whole toilet paper stupidity. So I didn't have toilet paper at that time. So we actually literally had to keep wiping our butt with Puffs Plus. I mean, it was amazing. I told the kids, don't get used to it. But when toilet paper finally came back in, we could actually find it. I mean, it was like a miracle. So anyhow, I never wanted to be like that again, never be prepared. And I started thinking about God and about, when they say to be prepared, have the oil for your lanterns, all that. It's like, maybe this is what's going on. I need to be prepared. Then another time I got, I said, should I keep going? He says, yes, because it's not just for me. It's not just for our kids. It's for the people that are not prepared. It's for those moments in life when you're not prepared, and then you can help people. He's blessing us to become a blessing. And a lot of times people get mad at that because they think, I worked really hard. There are people on welfare. They're already getting my money. There are people all over the place. They should have been prepared. They saw the writing on the wall. But folks, people don't see it. Some people do, but a lot don't. And there's going to be people out there that still don't have enough money, that are struggling left and right, that do not know how to use their money wisely. And I was one of them for a long time. So God's been really showing me things. He says, get rid of all this crap in your house. You don't need any of it. I provide everything that you need. It's like, so, start getting rid of these things. Start doing the things, start having start having experiences and not things. You can't take this stuff with you. So I was like, okay. So I started seeing all this stuff. It's like, start seeing this van build in my head. We get the van build, we start taking all these trips. Earl and I were doing these fun little trips each month, just going wherever the hell we wanted. We went to Bowling Green and we stayed in an ice cream shop, and it was the coolest trip ever.
It was fun.
And we loved it. And we went to Put in Bay a few times. We just blew our money like a bunch of ballers. I mean, it was amazing. We didn't have any money left. We ate like crazy. But we had so much fun, and I wouldn't take any of that back. It's like when we took our trip out west, we went out for 2 weeks in this van, and it was just us and the kids, and it was so much fun, and there was no arguing. The whole trip was amazing, and it was like we had enough money and enough of everything to do the entire trip, and we were provided for. In fact, one of the time, it was funny because we were kind of like getting short on money, and Earl's boss accidentally paid us for the week that he wasn't there.
Whoops.
Yeah, accidentally. I don't believe it. So, so of course we took advantage of that. And then, he told his boss, and he paid it back.
Yeah, paid it back the next week.
But it was so awesome because that's just how it works. When you're in that flow, we're in that state of mind of living it up and being in the present and having fun with our family and doing these good things. It's coming right back to you. So anyway, I got all these dreams and all these feelings, these words, and then it would go to the next thing. And then it was like, things started getting expensive. So what I was getting on is like, so for the last year, I had been buying extra food, and I've been buying extra toilet paper and buying extra just candles and nonsense, you know. Anything I could get extra because I already had enough noodles, you know. I already had enough spaghetti sauce. So then it was like, okay, for the next few weeks, I'm gonna buy toilet paper. So I did, and I bought wipes. Then I bought like matches and paper goods, and then we decided to go on this trip. And as I'm packing for the trip, I'm thinking, oh, I gotta go buy food, you know. And then I get, no, you don't. You do have food. I'm like, holy shit. I have enough food for 2 weeks for this trip. Like, plenty. Like,
Yeah.
way more than enough. So I start packing the boxes. And I had everything for this camping trip without realizing we were going to take a camping trip. And then, you know, I had saved up money because I had worked DoorDash. And I had enough money to pay for some other things that were going on in our life at that time. And then I had money to do this. And then I still had money left over. And then I had 2 checks coming that he has coming that because I already paid bills because I wasn't out buying stupid shit. I was buying food and just buying extra. And so I had all this extra stuff and I was able to pay off my bills. I was able to pay off this and that. And my mind wasn't on, you know, getting a movie or going to go buy new pillows or something, you know. And it was so nuts that, you know, I started seeing this whole pattern happen. You know, I started seeing where God was going with it. Then I thought, well, maybe God was preparing me for this trip. And then when I got back, it was like, buy some extra groceries. I said, okay. So I did. And then I thought, well, maybe I should buy some gas. So I put back some stuff for gas. Then I bought stuff for the swimming pool. And then it was like all these necessities that we use every day instead of dumb stuff, you know, that we don't need. And then I was like, it was just like teaching me how to do those things, you know, like that. And I didn't know how to do them before, you know, and it was so nice. And then I had another dream and, you know, I saw this space thing. It was this whole thing. Like I saw these aliens and I saw these ships and I saw this love and I saw this vibration. Everybody was happy and it was all these women. It was this feminine energy coming in. And I saw that and I saw when it happened and I felt it. And it was so bizarre piecing it all together. Then it just kept coming. All these different feelings that I had kept coming. And no bad things happened. So all the food and everything I put back, it's still there. I have a pantry full of food. I have toilet paper, paper goods. I have everything. So Easter's coming. Oh, I bought birthdays and Christmas gifts because that's what he was showing me last year. Just keep doing each week. Buy one each week. Buy a present for the kids each week. So I did. And I was ready. So if we had a shutdown again, I was already prepared. I had Earl's birthday. I had Logan's birthday. I had all this stuff already done in December, you know? And I've never done that. And I had the kids' Christmas gifts in like July. And because I was so prepared. Like, it was ridiculous. And the biggest thing I can say is I listened when he talked to me, and I kept listening, and I still listen, and I still seek him every day for all kinds of stuff. And in fact, it was funny because I was talking to a woman today, and she runs a Catholic store. I forget what it's called. Anyway, I bought a Bible cover, which I really love it. Well, you can't even see it. But anyway, it says, I am in the center, and it says, I am who I am, and then it has all the names of God. Anyway, so I went in there, and I talk to her every time I go in there. She's a nice lady. And she's Catholic, and I don't believe in that. And I love talking to her because she's a Catholic person that you can talk to that will listen. And she's got very strong beliefs, and it's funny because I do too. But we can still have a conversation, and it's great. And we were talking about the Bible, and she told me to look up Psalms 18. So now I'm actually really interested because, it's probably something bad. She said it was about David and Saul. But anyway, we were having this conversation, and she was talking about how um, God speaks, to her, and about the different times and seasons. And I was thinking about all this stuff. It's like all these different ways. And I told her, I said, well, God told me, to buy a little bit extra. And I was getting into something, and she kind of interrupted me. But, and she was talking, so I let her go through. It seemed like she needed to. But what I was getting into was the fact that I talked to her about how I talked to God and asked him questions. And she said that she in the Bible, the Psalms 18, that's what it was, that David was seeking God and asking him questions. And she realized she doesn't ask God questions every day, and she doesn't seek him to ask questions about everyday life things. And I started to talk to her. I said, I started doing that a few years ago. And she made a comment, about, how it's good that I do that or something, and I didn't need to praise, but it was more so I was telling her that because I started asking about food because I wasn't sure what to eat. Because I was reading the Bible at the time, and I was reading about, I was reading Deuteronomy about the different sacrifices and all that. And I wasn't sure if I should be eating meat. I figured there was something about this meat thing. The Bible says not to eat anything with a cloven toe. You're not supposed to eat pigs. And you don't eat there's certain birds that you don't eat. There's certain things like that you don't eat. So it's actually really interesting. So I was consulting him about this food because I was eating bacon like crazy. I love bacon. And basically, it's like, no, don't eat it. So, man, I love sausage. It's like, no, you can't eat that either. Oh, man. And then I was trying to think, I'm not going to ask God what animal is a pig because I don't want to know because I want to still eat. So then I thought, you know what? I don't know if that's like still good for today or not, or if that's like a thing of yesteryear.
Yeah.
Like, is that after Jesus came? Does that still pertain to this? And I guess there's different ways and different things that we go through. Different times in your life that you have to experience these things. And so when you raise in vibration, certain things do not pertain to you anymore because you're not in that vibration anymore. And so all that fear of living in the time of revelation is passing us because we are climbing in vibration. So it can't happen to you. If you're not in a vibration of fear, it can't happen. There's no way to happen because you're not living in a fearful vibration. So when you raise your vibration up, you're not going to have those things happen to you. And everyone say, oh, that's crazy. No, it's true. And once you realize that, it's a big explosion. It's like a brain explosion.
So that was basically what you told me the other day which this whole revelation thing is happening with us right now, is that as our individual vibration raises, we kind of shift into a timeline where all this bad stuff that's predicted to happen is not happening as bad. Like there's still like a signature of it. So like if the whole western seaboard was going to get wiped out, in some prediction, right, of a timeline, and our vibrations raise up enough as a collective, right? Then there might be, let's say, a certain volcano that erupts but doesn't cause the damage that people thought, right? Well, it's not that necessarily that didn't happen in another timeline.
I just got some.
But we raised up to the point where it went off, but it didn't cause all the destruction, And as we raise again, all these predictions of this horrible 9 billion people dying of a certain plague. Now, some people are going to have problems and die and pass, but not 9 billion people. We're kind of in a higher timeline right now. It's not going to happen that
So
way.
I just totally got something.
Yeah?
Can I say it?
Yeah. So, just real quick, the reason that all these predictions of these dates keep passing us by is not because they're not happening somewhere. They're just not happening to us. And we're kind of like coming in for a landing nice and smooth. Whereas before we were nosediving, we were going to crash. But as our vibration rises, we're sloping
Sort of
out.
level out.
We're sloping out. Everything's becoming longer. Everything's like dragging on and on and on. But we're not having the earth split apart, So it's a good thing.
So yeah, and so one of the things I got too just now was, so it makes sense, like in Revelation when you see this, when John is describing everything that's going on, he's describing all these things, and it's all very symbolic, obviously, and the things are happening, and but as they happen, with the whole ascension. Let me just put it this way: as the ascension's happening, it's destroying all this evil with love.
Yes.
And so it's just sort of fizzling out this pathetic little way, and like God is just like totally decimating this shit, And it's like amazing because the people that were born into this, we're coming down here. We're these light workers, right? So we had to live this life. We had to be this low vibrational energy. We were high beings, high vibrational beings, being born into this bullshit. Then we have to learn, as we're children, as we are growing, we have to learn how to keep a high vibration during all this shit. So a lot of these light workers were put into here, well, we all were, we were put into these situations, almost seems like impossible situations, and we agreed to it because that's where the most growth happens. So when you get born into a family and everybody looks at you and you're like this black sheep, you're like the total, like the village idiot of your family, right? Compared to everybody else. Now, I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying that for everybody else,
you
you don't fit in at all.
Outside the mold.
No, and I didn't. I never did. And like my grandmother couldn't stand me, and I was like 4 years old. Okay, there's no excuse for that. And so there were people like in my family that just did not like me, at all. And it's just like for no good reason, and I could just like walk into the room and I'd be like, ugh, and that's fine. And I get it now and it makes sense. And I'm so happy it happened, and I'm actually really grateful about it. And I really am. I'm not just saying that. And because I know what it took, I know how hard it was. And I know the reason, like what God did. God must have really, he trusted me, And so that's why sometimes it's so disappointing when I do something so stupid because it's like, oh. So it's frustrating.
I just got a really good analogy that came in. How do firefighters put out fires? They don't spray the water up at the flames. They point it at the base, right? So all the light workers were put in, at these low points, at these points where the fire was the hottest, right?
Yeah.
And so that we could fizzle out the fire, fizzle out the evil from the bottom up.
And we had to, here's the fun thing about it, is that when we're put in these situations, and I had no idea about this, and it was so funny because I was on a cruise ship. We were all on a cruise ship, and we get out there, and I knew it was going to be rough because it's like we were going through all these things at the time, and I was like, oh, God. And every cruise we had was amazing. And this last one, I basically wanted to kill myself. But when we got on it, I was trying really hard to get out of that. It was only like a day of like really despising myself.
Imagine going through the middle of the dark night of the soul, but you're boarding a cruise ship, which is supposed to be like
happy,
really awesome, and
happy.
and
then you're in the water. You're surrounding the water, not even in the water, but so you have all the energy of everybody else on the cruise ship. But anyway, as I'm on there, this is right before COVID happened. In fact, we ended up getting COVID on the cruise ship. So Um, while we're on the cruise, um, I was laying in bed and I'm burning, like burning up. And I'm hot and I'm so sweaty. It's so, the weirdest thing. And it's so funny how you see things now, like years later, and you can see like all this, like what was going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I see this, like I'm sweating. I wake up, I'm in this pool of sweat. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it was disgusting. And now this is a room that's not hot. Everybody had blankets up to their ears, you know. I have sweat. I'm sweating to death. I get up, I get a shower, and so before I went in to get my shower, God comes to me and says, "You just cleared your family's karma." Okay, holy shit. You know? And so I'm burning it off. He said, "You burned it off." And I'm like, and I woke up and I was soaked, right? And I got a shower and I get things on in the water. So I was just like shocked. I couldn't wait to tell Earl about it because I was having a rough time. And then I was like, this is so amazing. And so the funny thing about that is that when we come down here, you know, we agree to do it. So God puts us in these sort of impossible situations, but he knows we're going to get through it. Because why? Because God wins. Hello. So he trusts us, puts us in these situations. We're in it. And we have to learn how to get out of it and learn how to be as positive and high vibrational as possible to be able to get our shit out of it. Somehow, deep within our souls, we know this. We don't know as people. No, we did not know. No, it took forever for us to figure it out. We're just like everybody else is asleep right now, but we woke up a little earlier. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the problem is that we were here to clear so much karma from our own families, these generational, they call them generational curses that we put on ourselves. It's all these contracts. It's all these stupid things that we've done. And so as my family, the people that hated me the most, and like Earl said, these are people that you're going to thank because they signed up to work with you because they had to be horrible people. They had to be these horrible people because that's what gives you the most growth. And I had to do it because I was the strongest person to do it. And I had to. So I'm clearing all this crap for these people. And they're still shitty to me, right?
It's like really bad personal trainers.
It's horrible.
They just whip you if you do push-ups wrong
right.
or something.
It's horrible. I mean, you're out there doing a damn push-up and they're like, ah. It's like, what? I'm trying. No.
Oh, they're helping you.
I love you, Grandma. Smack, smack, smack.
Screaming at you, putting you through boot camp. But, you know, if the people that sign up for the Army never went through boot camp and never had that training, they would die right away as soon as they got on the battlefield.
But damn, are we strong.
But man.
So now it's like, you know, I'm looking at it. So months ago, I was in a hot tub, like I said, hot tub. And I'm in this hot tub, and he tells me, okay, I made all these stupid contracts with myself. Like, I'm so dumb. And then it was like, he showed me, it was so weird. I was like, you know, I didn't know what was going on or what was happening. And he shows me why people did not like me. And it was the funniest thing. It made so much sense. And I was so relieved to finally understand it. And he's like, they did not like you. I was like, I know. And he's like, well, I did that. Why? Why would you do that? And that's my job. I have this special little gift where I make people angry immediately. And it's not that I personally piss them off because I'm a smart ass or because I have red hair or some dumb crap like that. It's because I have a very high vibrational energy within myself and it pulls at the dark energy in other people. So
it brings the darkness to the surface.
It brings dark to light. And then they associate, not all the time the first time, but if they associate every time that I'm around them, they're angry. So they immediately blame it on me, and then I'm sort of like this punching bag. So no matter what happens, they notice that they're angry around me. So this has happened to me several times. So people will... He actually showed me this. He showed me my grandmother not liking me when I was little. He showed me some of my aunts and my cousins not liking me. There was other situations of people not liking me. There was people that, like, friendships that I had, that they would do things and just be angry all the time, or trick me into these, like, stupid three-way calling things. And I was so naive and, like, so trusting about that stuff. So this is why, like, now when you want me to love people, it's like I want to help them, but I don't want them near me. Because now I'm very protective of myself, almost to that, just a little too far, he says. Because I've been smacked around for 43 years and I'm not taking it anymore. And it's a good thing, but also now it's kind of reversed itself a little bit. But, you know, I'm eventually going to get there. But right now I'm going through it. I'm asking God to help me do it, because honestly, I can't do it.
You know, my choir teacher used to say if you have a wire that's bent like this and you want it to go straight, you got to bend it a little bit past straight and it'll straighten out. So that's probably what's going on.
Yeah, it's
you bent just you're in the bend
right.
a little too far
just
apart.
Yeah,
it's about to spring back.
It's funny because I was talking to Logan about it. I'm like, Logan, you know, we got to meet in the middle here, you know. And it was funny because it's a great thing to be able to tell your kids, and I'm very proud of it, because we've been through a lot of crap, and the kids are starting to go through some stuff, and we've had the experience to be able to help them, and they're very resilient, and they're very understanding, they're very smart, and they have that ability that they're not going to have to wait until they're 43 years old to try to get over something. And it's so nice because there are a few things. Of course, we're all going to screw up our kids somehow. And, but it's going to be a lot less for them. And so that's what's really exciting, because, like, the buck stops here. So with light workers, that's what it is we are stopping it from happening to future generations.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to feel sorry for yourself, remember that you did this really good thing and that they're not going to have to suffer. And it actually feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind suffering a little bit. As God likes to say to me, I still got a little bit left. So, yeah.
Well, I feel good about this one. It's time to wrap it up. Plus, It's past my bedtime, and I'm going to turn into a pumpkin soon.
So, that's awakening talk, folks.
Go plant some seeds.
Yeah. See you later. Bye, soul gardeners.
Bye.